Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and the beta has been out for about a week now. I've been able to play around with it quite heavily and to be honest there's been some pretty fun findings. So what I want to do in today's video is talk about all that I've seen with a fully completed campaign with 121 turns. It took a little bit longer than usual, and a secondary campaign which I've just recently started. I've been streaming on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges. Pop by, say hi, let's talk about Total War. Now for a little bit of general information, the campaigns that I used in regards to testing out player bias and just everything that's coming into the beta is Luthor Harkon, that's the completed one, and Wurrzag. The reasoning behind that is those are two factions where player bias generally does sit in quite a bit. You are public enemy number one in most cases, and factions will turn around to attack you. There are still some potential alliances, but not that many. So let's talk about this, because I do feel some of the changes are good and some of them are a little bit strange, but obviously it is a beta. Keep that in mind. Everything is subject to change by the time that it makes itself live. But before anything, a big thank you to our sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is a platform where you'll be able to buy loads of different games at discounted rates. Gaming is getting expensive, and with all the hype recently around the Oblivion remaster, which yeah, I'm going to try and buy day one, I'd rather get a good discount from the very beginning, because let's be honest, Bethesda are going to try and sell us whole summer once again. Even pre-orders like the brand new expansion for Elden Ring coming later this May is 22% off. I think that's a pretty damn good deal. And not only that, but we do have a giveaway going on. Win the game of your choice. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, sign up, and that's it. You don't even have to make a purchase. And yeah, it's literally any game that they've got there. You can pick it up for free. Instant Gaming is a platform that I've been working with for a decent amount of time now. It's a company that I myself use because, you know, old world purchases aren't cheap. And I am trying to buy armies, so getting a good deal for video games is still going to keep me able to play new games if I so wish, and there's quite a few new titles coming out lately which have been fairly decent. A big thank you to our sponsor, and now let's return to our regularly scheduled programming. I want to start off with Luthor Harkon, and both of these campaigns have been run with very hard campaign and hard battles. That's how I prefer to do streams, because there's a bit of a challenge, but it's also allowing me to be able to talk to you guys a lot more. When it comes to Luthor Harkon, it took me around 121 turns, and to be fair, it's not that much of a problem. It really was just me making a few mistakes here and there, mostly trusting Skrulk, which then Skrulk backstabbed me. But as you are aware, Luthor Harkon is a vampire coast faction, and a fair chunk of factions just don't like the undead. But this is where some interesting parts came in, right? I was able to team up with Skrulk for a little while, but we weren't actually actively fighting together. It was mostly just an agreement of him staying in his side, I'm staying in my side. The Cornate faction, interestingly enough, so Skulltaker, who in live has been known to fairly dominate through Lustria, was taken out by Alberic within 20 turns, I believe. I did notice some pretty interesting behavior, being able to ally up with Yuan Bo, so in most cases I had an ally whilst I dealt with Rakath. Hexotal, so Mazdamundi, was a bit of a problem there. He actually came down for me, and all the High Elves, which I'm still fighting with, even after getting a peace agreement, they kept coming back. I'm at war with a decent amount of the High Elves, and that's purely because Mazdamundi decided to bring in Eltharion. Eltharion then decided to invite Tyrion and Alariel, so it was mostly just because of alliances. They basically left me the hell alone, and they only intervened because an ally asked them to come in, which is really interesting. It does seem like order tiding is becoming a little bit more common again. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take off the Fog of War, so I've just done a new save and then taken off the Fog of War with a mod. Yeah, it does seem like up north, and this is why everyone was allying up, there is a bit of an order tide. So the High Elves, the Dwarfs there still, because it does seem like Grombrindal is lasting quite a bit, have been teaming up. Ostankia's still alive. There's a lot of order tide pushing, and you can see that there with Bretonnia and the Empire. The Empire's taken most of the old world, funny enough, just really solidifying themselves in these locations. Most of the Dwarf factions are gone, with Skrog taking over. And just, there is a push. There's about 50-something factions left, the majority of them being order-based in one way, shape, or form. The Southlands itself, a bit of a struggle. So Wurrzag has taken over most of the stuff. Then we do have Kairos doing incredibly well lately. Ever since his rework and then this recent beta change, it does seem like he does really, really well. The Cathayan areas, mostly under the Skaven, It's really weird to see that. I've generally started seeing the Skaven being more aggressive. Throughout this campaign myself, I have been struggling against Clan Pestilence because it's no longer them recruiting just normal slave stacks. They are completely getting powerful armies to the point that it was losing 2 territories, gaining 2 territories, very back and forth until I could take Harkon down, who was otherwise busy with Rakov. Now, I think things get a little bit more interesting when we look at Wurrzag. So this is a very hard campaign as the Luthor Harkon one. It is very early on, only turned 28, but I think some interesting results have come in so far. I have not been declared on once, which is really, really curious. I started off with Teto Echo, got rid of him, straight into Volkmar, got rid of him. Then I started pushing in with multiple armies. So I had one army dealing with Manfred, whilst the Wurrzag army was dealing directly with Repans, the Knights of Origor, and now I'm going to be turning my attentions to get rid of the minor faction there for the Dwarfs and Arkan. What interesting results popped up was Skarbrand really likes me. We've basically got an alliance going, and that's going to be good for me because that means I don't have to worry about my north whilst he's empire building, and I'm racking up reputation with him as I'm killing literally everyone else. The dwarves, so Forek, they really dislike me, very high aversion, but they're so much more interested in fighting Krokkar too. Obviously it's very early on, but it does seem kind of like it's going to be smooth sailing, because I have noticed this during my own personal campaign. The AI does seem a little bit more passive than usual. But now what we should do is talk about the early game, see how everything is going around the world, and to be honest, everything looks normal-ish, barring some things here and there. So, Southern Chaos Waste is still a war zone. That's going to take a while. It does look like Kairos is struggling a little bit over here. Depending on the theater that you start in, some other factions will have increased potential. That's just generally how it is. Lustria seems the same as it's been going for a while now. Skulltaker is just getting taken out very, very early. The Skaven of Clan Pestilence are expanding quite heavily. And the Order Tide is going to start losing to the Skaven quite fast. When it comes to Ulthuan, Nakari is pushing up, which is actually quite interesting. The Nargothrond area, Northern Chaos Waste, more or less the same until things start really, really changing there. The Empire is a war zone at the moment, but that generally does get changed around as time progresses, mostly with Franz getting stronger and stronger, so he can just get a lot more auto resolves. You're definitely seeing a lot more factions surviving very early on. Normally around this time, you're going to start seeing a lot more when it comes to just the legendary lords and a lot less minor factions, but it's kind of nice to see a few of them running around. The overlords of Zarduk seem to be doing very, very well, which, you know, good on them as a minor Chaos Dwarf faction that doesn't really get any benefits there. What is probably the outlier with this recent patch, from what I've been able to see, well, the beta patch more than anything else, is that the Skaven do very well. It does seem like the Skaven of Clan Eshen are really taking over a lot of territory there. There are other factions still up and running, but it's been noticeable. Pestilence and Eshen seem to be really overperforming. But regarding some general thoughts, I think this is a great step in the right direction. Sure, it needs to be tinkered around a little bit, but again, this is a beta. This is exactly why these exist. It's showing that the factions aren't going to be always gunning for you. I did have all the elves coming down for me when they joined up with Hexotel, but by that point, they had no other enemies. Avalon, who was in the war, was not actually coming down for me. So it was mostly just the Elfarian forces, the Tyrian forces. That makes a lot more sense. So they aren't in Nagaron, they aren't dealing with any factions there, so they find themselves a lot more free to come down and attack me. Yeah, it just feels a lot better. I'm not getting random factions declaring war on me from the other side of the world. Hell, there were certain cases during the Luthor Harkon campaign where a few factions had basically taken over Araby. It was a lot of times changing hands, but no one declared war on me. I didn't see a faction just going, okay, yeah, that's the problem. Kairos decided I'm not the problem. He was dealing more with Teclis, and then he decided to push into the Southlands. In most cases, Kairos would have declared war on me. This feels really good. This feels a lot better. There is a little bit of passive movement with the AI, that's for sure. But the massive improvement on the anti-player bias feels really, really good. So if they can just fix up the values, I think we'll be in for a very good time for whenever this decides to launch. In this case, I'm imagining that they're testing this out for a potential addition to 6.2, but it could end up being pushed back to 7.1 or 7.0, depending on what happens. I don't imagine it dropping around the DLC time, because it's something that they'll probably want to refine and not have to worry too much about other factions coming in. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a bit of discussion, and if you're interested, I will be streaming live today. We'll be doing some more Wurrzag, and we'll be able to see how the beta works. I'm enjoying it so far. It's at least making the campaigns go a lot faster. Have a good one, everyone. See you soon.